Well, hello and welcome to this week's video, where it's actually a continuation of last week's video, where we talked about how to stop being passive aggressive. That was called phase 1. And this is phase 2. I'm going to give you more examples, more understanding, and really a list of what is detrimental, why you need to really learn this. And I challenge you, if you think you're not passive aggressive, stick around to the end of this video. And I want you to tell me that on the passive aggressive checklist that you don't check some of those boxes, because I guarantee you that you do. My name is Terri Cole. I am a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. So welcome to this week's video. How to stop being passive aggressive, phase 2, and why to stop being passive aggressive, which I think we talked a little bit about it. So let's recap a little from last week. Passive aggressiveness is learned in the home that you grew up in. It's kind of like a dynamic. It's something that you experienced in your youth. So what does the behavior include? It includes obvious passiveness, right? Withdrawn or apathetic approach to relationships where you're just like not doing anything. But adult passive aggressive grew up in a home a lot of times with rules that too strict, too regimented, like no chance of personal adventure, right? And I think that when you're younger and you grow up like this, you come to believe that speaking your truth or simply saying no to something that you don't want to do can be dangerous and can jeopardize your chance to receive the love, affection, and attention that you really want of your parents, your caregivers, whoever it may be, right? And if you never deal with that, if you never understand it, once you get into adulthood, really the passive aggressive approach spills over into all sorts of adult relationships. And it's not just romantic relationships, you guys. It's in friendships, intimate partnerships. It plays out at school, at work. And the truth is, it serves nobody. Like, it doesn't serve anyone well. It harms the person most who's actually being passive aggressive, right? But then it also sabotages relationships that you're seeking to cultivate, that you want to cultivate. So let's get a list going of what you're really doing when you're being passive aggressive. What is it? Like, what are the results or the effects in your life? So one is that you're burning bridges, right? When you're passive aggressive, this behavior does not build bridges. It actually burns bridges and it burns relationships. So it's harmful to all of the relationships that you care about. And it isolates you, right? Others feel naturally less connected to someone who is passive aggressive. When you think that you're being polite, but you're really expressing anger through saying, sure. Do you know someone who's like saccharine sweet, but you know that that's not the truth about how they feel? They're saying yes, but like their energy is saying F you. Have you ever had that experience? Your true opinion is like festering not very far underneath. And so this does not build bridges. And the sadness is that as you're burning bridges, the person who expresses their anger passive aggressively is becoming more and more isolated in their life. All right, so that's the first thing. Second thing, what are you doing? You're saying yes to every request that comes your way because you're trying to avoid conflict. Remember, you're trying to avoid conflict, but then you're blaming others for making you do things that you don't want to do. So let's just get clear that, and again, this is very passive aggressive behavior because there's a belief. You have a belief that people can make you do things. And the truth is, you can't. That's it. So you use it as a way to feel justified in resenting others. Like, I can't believe he would ask me to do that. Well, people can ask you to do anything. It's on you as to whether you're going to say yes or whether you're going to say no, right? One of the most important things, which is the third thing I want to talk about with passive aggressive behavior, is that you're basically assuring that your needs are not going to get met in your relationships, which is terrible, right? You're not letting anyone know how you really feel and what you really want. So how can your partner, your sister, your parents, your teacher, anyone, your boss, how is anyone going to be a part of your solution and care what you want if you're not telling them? So when you hold back from like speaking up or clarifying where you stand on an issue, right? You're being triggered because you're afraid, you feel unsafe, because you're afraid that you're not going to get the approval of that person any longer. You want to be liked, you want to impress this person. But what happens is that they don't know what the problem is and they don't know what you want. So it only becomes detrimental to your relationship over time because the person endlessly feels like they can't do anything right. Right? It becomes detrimental because they become resentful. You feel resentment, right? Living like in this phony way of forcing yourself to walk on eggshells and around them because you can't say what you really want, and they're feeling the same way. And this is really, really bad for a romantic relationship, but it's bad for every relationship, right? What else are you doing? You're forfeiting special connections with people that you like out of fear of conflict. You're basically saying, I'm going to give this up. You're afraid to actually make that special connection, because what is that special connection? To make it with people, what do we require? It requires you to be vulnerable, for you to tell the truth about how you feel or what you want, to reveal who you really are. And when you're not doing that, you're doing what back in the day, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of like the DSM is what we call it, where you get diagnoses out of, that classified passive aggressiveness as many things throughout the many years. So it first appeared in 1952, and it used to be called like a personality style, hidden hostility, which you're like, yeah, no doubt, a defense mechanism, a personality disorder, or just negativism. You're like, man, that's a weird word. Whatever it is, however you view it, it's confusing and it harms your relationship. That's why we care about it. That's why I want you to really understand what you're giving up by continuing to rock this behavior. And if you haven't seen the first video, you should, because there's more explanation in how to stop being passive aggressive phase 1. If you're not clear about what exactly it is that I'm talking about, I don't want to go over it all again in phase 2. That's why there's a phase 1 and phase 2. Another thing you're giving up is you're actually giving up before you even try. Right? So you're basically afraid, your fear of whether it's what your parents taught you, if your parents had opinions about things. Let's say you want to be a singer, you wanted to be something artistic, but your parents thought that wasn't a real job or nobody could ever do it. You may have heard their opinion in your head so much that you would give up your dream before you even try. Right? You could step away from your own desire, your own, maybe your dharma, your purpose in life, before you even try, because your mind was filled with someone else's disapproval or fear. And accepting advice from family is not, in my estimation, listen, it doesn't have to always be a bad thing if it's someone who you respect, right? If it's someone whose life you would like, that can be beneficial. But others' opinions on what is right, good, appropriate, what they would do in their own life, especially if you're not even asking them for it, is not only not appropriate, but it's like super not helpful, right? And you have to start to clarify in your own mind, is what you're thinking. Are you being led by your fear mind, by someone else's downloaded into you fear about life, fear about taking risks, or is this really what you think and what you want to do? Because it's an inauthentic way of living your life if you never get to it. So I don't want you to give up before you even try yourself. And another thing you're doing is basically trying to avoid pain at all costs. So you're making decisions based on, how can I avoid pain? But here's the thing. We can't avoid pain. In life, in general, there's no way. This is what part of living is, right? So if your decision-making process is always like, I'm gonna do the easy thing because that means I won't have to have the hard conversation, right? It's if you're always looking for minimal discomfort, let's say, or minimal pain, And you think it's easy, but the truth is it isn't, because the fear of experiencing that pain is always going to be somewhere right around the corner, still driving your behavior. So how about just have the hard conversation, do the hard thing, take it full on, grab the bull by the horns, because you're not that fragile. You could do it. You don't have to know what you're doing. Just know that taking the easy way out isn't easy. It just seems like it is, you know? Another thing is that people who are passive aggressive, and this is really painful and really true, that anyone speaking truth to you, if you are very passive aggressive and if you're always avoiding conflict, you will categorize someone telling you the truth about what they experienced as them attacking you, even if they're not attacking you. So you shut down honest discourse between two people. So you shut down an honest discourse, right? By the soon as someone says, you know, my feelings were really hurt that you didn't come to my birthday party. And you say, you know what, you're always attacking me, you're so critical, rather than hearing what they're actually saying. And this is such a mistake to do in your relationships, because people have to be able to talk to you. People who love you, if you love them, they have to be able to talk to you. And another thing you're doing is basically using the same problem-solving skills, which are not that great, to handle complicated situations. And it doesn't work, right? So this cycle of the same lines that you've used in past relationships, you find yourself almost playing a part in your relationship because you don't believe you have the tools to actually handle it. So I don't want you to be in Groundhog Day in your relationships, whether it's friendships, but do you find yourself in the same position, having the same complaint about other people? If you do, this is about you, right? This is like you're the common denominator in your life. And so if you find yourself in the same situation over and over again, this is definitely about you. Another thing you do if you handle life in a passive-aggressive way is that you elongate an annoyance or a problem. You'll be pissed at someone for so long, but you don't want to deal with it. So it's like you go back and forth, right? You don't want to deal with the conflict, but you're ignoring it. So you're pissed, but then you avoid the person. You don't call them back. You take a long time to call them back where you used to call them back quickly. And again, this is just wasting like your amazing life, like your prana, your chi, your life force energy. You're like wasting it because you feel like you can't deal with it. So you prolong what's bothering you, but it doesn't benefit you, right? You're just afraid to face what's actually happening. And you could have the same beef, and people do, for days, weeks, years, decades, a whole entire life. Because you're expressing your anger passively by talking about this person to other people, by not dealing with it. But it's sucking up your life too. Make sense? Like it's actually sucking up your life, which we don't want it to. So, was that the last thing I wanted to say? No, I think that, listen, you guys, I could do like 17 videos on this. What I really want you to do is handle your life. Understand these behaviors. So don't worry, you don't have to write them down. There'll be a list, and anything I feel like I missed, I'll ask for it. It'll be in the downloaded, like, basic checklist, the handout. I hope that you guys not enjoyed. I don't know. Enjoyed would be an exaggeration when we're talking about passive aggressive, because it's not enjoyable, especially if you're the person who's passive aggressive, to basically admit that that's what's happening. But I promise you that understanding this and really mastering it, this will liberate you. There will be something really freeing that happens for you in your life, like I explained Oh, maybe I told that story in the other one. If you didn't see phase one, I talk about my husband and I figuring out our passive aggressive relationship around time. That's in Stop Being Passive Aggressive phase one, I think we called it. So if you didn't see that, go watch it because it's actually good. It's a long story. There's no friggin' way I'm retelling it now because it's too long. But I hope that you liked it. If you know people who this could help, please share it with them. Please share the YouTube channel. These videos are all free, you guys. The downloads are all free. The cheat sheets, the meditations, everything that I'm gifting you is free because I love you and because I want you to be healthy and happy. Because the healthier you are, the healthier our world will be. And you guys, we need some mental health on this planet, don't you think? I think we do. So, anyway, I hope you have an amazing week. Not being passive aggressive. And as always, take care of you.